way down here. There is nothing to fear.
There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. All right. We're going to be on chapter 25. Chapter 25 is devotion as a type of participation. Devotion is a type of participation in the course of love.
Oh God, that's way down.
It was great. I was at, I talked to Mari. I mean, me and Mari exchanged emails. And Mari is the lady who channeled the course of love. And it was interesting because she was saying she had watched one of my classes and she was telling me about what she was getting out of it from the course of love that she quoted on her website.
Oh my gosh, Earl.
So I thought that was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Because she could feel my love and appreciation for the material, because I think it's awesome. And now it's getting even deeper because we're getting close to the end and getting ready to go to the treatises. Or whatever is next.
Whatever.
So, chapter 25, devotion as a type of participation. I think that's a really interesting title. Devotion is a type of participation, would be another way to put it. You begin to live from love when the personal self gets out of the way. And when the personal self gets out of the way, in any instance, it is the turning point.
Yeah.
It is the signal that you are ready to live from love when your personal self gets out of the way. This is what this course is about. Living from love, and living from love is when the personal self gets out of the way. To devote oneself to an objective is a vow to accomplish. To devote oneself to an objective is a vow to accomplish. To devote oneself to an objective is a vow to accomplish. To be devoted is to be prayerful. Y'all ever notice how all of these books, including the Course in Miracles, constantly define what they're saying, and you watch how all of us try to figure it out. I never have quite understood how a book can be telling you what stuff means, and then we still, and we spend all the time going, what does that mean? Then debate back and forth. It's like, it means what it means. You know, like, what do you mean? To devote yourself to an objective, that is your vow to accomplish, the fact that you have devoted yourself to the objective. Then he goes on to say, okay, what is devoted? Well, to be devoted is to be prayerful. Then it goes, and as we said in the beginning, to pray is to ask for all to be included in what you do. You know, the Course in Miracles talks about how the universe or God has absolutely no interest in our personal interests. That it doesn't mean that to God, our personal interests don't mean anything, because that in itself is a form of separation. My personal interest is if I'm separate from everything else. And so I often have said that your prayer isn't powerful until it includes everybody. So me wanting something for myself personally is something I'm going to have to get on my own personally. Okay? But if I ask for something and I ask for that thing to be used for the benefit of everyone, or somehow or another to be a means of healing for everyone, now it's including everyone, and so now it's a true prayer if it's a thought that includes everyone. So prayers have no power that is just for your own personal ego interest. And that kind of explained to me why so many prayers seem like they're not answered to people. Because most people aren't praying for everyone. Most people are praying for their own personal benefit. So that answered the question I had noticed. And then it says, devotion is thus our first lesson in learning how to be engaged in life during the time of tenderness. And we heard last week that the time of tenderness is what becomes before peace and what comes before compassion. And it's the final learning ground. And at the time of tenderness is when you are willing to unlearn or not use your old thought system anymore to define anything that's going on in your life right now. So every time you find yourself using what the world taught you as a definition of anything that you're going through, he says, then you still what? Trying to be in control. Because if I recall a couple of weeks ago we heard that to be in control means that you're just getting ready to do it the way you learned in the past again. Right? That I'm not going to use this stuff that I'm studying. I'm going to still look at it like I'm separate from everybody. And then it goes on to say, so devotion is learning how to be engaged in life while you still going through the unlearning, which is the time of tenderness. So I'm still going to be engaged while I'm learning to see things different. I'm still going to be engaged in life while I'm learning how to do this different. I'm still going to be engaged in my life while I'm learning how to see this differently. Any thoughts about that paragraph? What would be a point in this paragraph that stuck out for you?
Well, Earl, for me, it's that first sentence you read about, like, when I get out of the way
Mm-hmm.
and I let love go,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I allow love to go through.
Right.
That really hit me, because that's where I'm at right now, Earl. I'm going to be honest, that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, I keep trying to do it my way, and I can't anymore. I can't anymore. I don't know, God. I give up.
Yeah.
It's all you. I can't do this anymore. I can't do it my way anymore.
So now you're ready to be at the turning point, which is when your personal self is getting out of the way. So now you're ready to live from love. Yeah, I used to like to prove God. Like, God, if you really love me, then you'll pay my bills. God, if you really love me, then you would really, you would attract the perfect relationship to me. God, if you really love me. It's like I would realize all the time had this relationship with God that was based on proving itself to me, provided I got what I wanted. And I remember that that's the way I was as a child. That I was really still just being a child. That I wasn't really expressing spiritual maturity at all. I was still a child, just wanting to have my toys. And then if I got my toys, then God is real. If I got my train, then my parents were real. Same thing. And I realized that's I'm innocent, but that's a totally childish spiritual perspective. And I still have that sometimes. Anybody else? A sentence that stuck out.
For me,
Go ahead.
what really stunned me is when you said, when we read this, the answer is there. And so it doesn't really have to be discussed, because it's already there. The answer's already there. And what was really, because I've spent since 1999 studying the course and Course of Love in the last few years. And I used to be, when I would go to groups, I was always talking, always asking questions, and I rarely hear, because I'm trying to listen. And just as soon as a question, when you say, does anybody have any questions, it'll pop in my head, and then it's answered in the next sentence that we read. So I don't even have to ask anymore. So it's a very different way for me to respond, because I used to be always, I got a question, I got a comment, I got it. And rarely do I anymore with the course. It's very different for me.
The reason why I say that, like, what is the point of what do you hear?
Yeah.
It's more about bringing it back out of yourself so that you'll remember.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's perfectly okay if you look right down at the book and read it right out, because it's not about testing you. It's
Right.
it's about if we're serious about this, we need to remember it, because the first thing that happens when we leave is that we tend to forget it. So for us to be here for an hour and not try to bring that's one of the reasons why this new advanced mind training that I'm doing is going to be very, very different from what I've done in the past. It's going to be very much about bringing the information back out of us, as well as the application of it, as well as using each other as saviors, as well as new stuff I've never covered before. And the intimacy will allow us to do it, because I'm teaching what I need to learn. I'm ready to go deep. I'm ready to really go to the next level of consciousness. And I know you can't do it if you keep doing everything at a superficial level. You just won't. And to me, superficial is always listening, but never bringing the information out of yourself, or trying to apply it, or talking it. It was funny. I did a session recently where I answered a question 3 times very clearly, but the person, which is not unusual, the person will come right back at the end and ask me the same thing again. The same thing. Well, how do I do with blah 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 blah? And it's in the course says the reason we do that is simply two things. It wasn't the answer we'd already made up. So when we got an answer that wasn't the one that we make up, then we don't hear it, which makes total sense to me. We're looking for it to be the answer, and every real answer is always going to be something that we didn't think of. And that's the other thing. A real answer is always going to be something you didn't think of, because if you'd already really thought of it, you wouldn't even have the question.
Right.
So your answer probably is not the one, right? And so Yeah. I don't know. It's just all this is just getting so obvious to me. I wonder why I was so stupid for so long. I mean, it's not like you have to be a rocket. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to get that to devote yourself to something means you're finally vowing to accomplish it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to be devoted means to be prayerful. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to get that means you just ask for everybody to be included. So so one of the things I love about the study sessions that Anna and I have that I've been posting on the YouTube is that the way we do it is I read a paragraph, right, and we apply it to our relationship, and we look back at each other and we say, well, what did that just say? It didn't say we don't go, what is your interpretation of what it just said? We go, what did you just say, and then let's apply it to our relationship. Well, I would say to myself, if I want to devote myself to you, then I'm going to make a vow to accomplish something with you. Then I'm going to say, I heard, well, to be devoted means to be prayerful. So that means that whenever I have any kind of prayer concerning you, because we were planning together, if I would have any kind of prayer concerning you, then I'm not going to make a prayer that doesn't include you. Then I'm going to tell myself that, and in the meantime, we're going to still keep being engaged in our life while we're being devoted to learning something new. See, that's practically restating what it's saying in a way that's actually the thoughts that the course of love is trying to give us. Because if you notice, everything I said was something that he said in the paragraph. The only difference was I applied it personally so that it wouldn't sound so abstract. And that's what you do to change your mind. You have to stop making up your interpretations and then remember what the Christ consciousness is telling us to do, because that's all it wants us to do is look at it differently. So I'm now devoted to you all because I'm willing to ask that you benefit through and be included in every prayer that I make. Yeah. So I'm getting ready to pray for something, so I'm going to also pray for you too. That's using it, and that's not analyzing it at all. That could apply to my boss. Well, if I'm going to be devoted to my boss on my job, then I'm going to make a vow that I'm going to accomplish something with my boss. And that's exactly what I did with mine when I was still working in that kind of situation. I went into the office one day, which was unheard of, and I sat down with him and I asked him, what could I do to make his job easier? And it was not like I was trying to brown nose, because I knew if he was happy, it's going to be easier for me. You know, what can I do to support what you're doing? And he's like, it kind of took him aback. And then that led to a conversation where he found out that I wanted to be a speaker. And so then in that conversation, he shared with me that was something he had thought about doing. So by me coming in there asking him, how could I help him accomplish his objective, he ended up being one of the main persons who would help me rearrange my schedule so I could go out of town to speak. Yeah. But that was the one that everybody said was going to be hard-nosed. But that's because their objective and what they were devoted to was seeing him as an enemy. And they were only thinking about what they wanted their day to be like, and they weren't thinking about how can we include our boss in the piece that I want for today. And they weren't thinking about including him. You see what I mean? It's like that to me, that's practical application of the truth. It's when you walk into a situation and you do what it says, which that's what I'm trying to do, brother.
And so it's through experiencing doing it differently that allows your personal self to get out of the way.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Getting my personal self out of the way is me not using one single friggin' thing that the world teaches me about how to deal with it or how to see it. Which is always going to be one way, which is what? What is it outside of myself that needs to change in order for me to be happy? You could just reduce it to that one sentence. The world's way is always what has to change outside of myself in order for me to be happy. He said that's basically it. Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I'm so sick of dangling that carrot in front of my face. When this next thing happens, then this is going to be it. And when this next thing happens, then this is when I'm going to be happy. And when this next thing happens, when I'm going to... And then you put the carrot in front of your own face that you're dangling. Yeah. So that's what's really funny, when you realize that you're the one that's making up all the work that you're doing. You know, you're the one, like when I ask about this seminar, you know, that I'm doing. I literally sit down in front of my computer and I go, what would it take for me to do this, Holy Spirit? What is it that you want me to do? How do you want me to see it? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? What, you know, all the stuff is said in the book. And then all of a sudden, stuff that's just started to flowing through me that led me to places that I didn't even think of as far as the preparation for the thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know it's when the Spirit guides you, because the first thing you go is, oh, that didn't occur to me. You know, and it feels peaceful, and it's flowing. And so then I decided to do it, right? And then, okay, Holy Spirit, this is something that I'm supposed to do. Give me some kind of omen about that. Well, you know, the whole thing is full. It's done. You know, I got the 15 people that want to do it. You know, and I know that the Holy Spirit chose them, because it's usually very seldom who I think is going to be. It's like when I try to pick out who I think is going to come to something that I'm doing, it's almost never who I think is going to be. You know, that's another way I know it's the Holy Spirit, because it's only my specialist that picks out certain people that I think should be at something. Right? It's only my specialist that does that. And then if someone else wants to do it, well, that's possible too. But you have to let go of your attachment, and then I had to be willing to listen in order to be willing to do it. So a key word of the ego is this: figure it out. Okay, whenever you hear yourself say the word figure, you know it's not God. Okay, as soon as that word comes out of your lips, I've got to figure this out. You know that's not your guidance, because your guidance eliminates the desire to figure it out. That's what guidance is. It eliminates the desire to figure it out. So what did you hear, brother?
I reacted more to the preface rather than the paragraph. And it occurred to me that we're all taught from a young age to be egocentric, to be self-centered. I mean, it's unconscious, but it's there. I mean, you're arguing with your sibling about whose toy that is, you know, and all these kinds of things. Until we recognize that that's a part of our script, it's going to remain a barrier no matter how many times you go to the course to love.
Yeah, until you get, like the Course says, until you get that perception is learning. That the way you are seeing things is not the way it necessarily is. It's just the way you learn. And then it goes a step further. How can you tell that it's not the right learning? You don't have no friggin' constant peace. That's not even complicated. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how do I know it's not God I'm following? You are not satisfied. Oh. Well, why am I not satisfied? You're not satisfied because the desire that you just made up is not really what satisfies you. Whatever it is you're trying to get, it wasn't what you thought it was. You know, right? Or else you'd be satisfied.
That's right.
Right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's
Yeah,
not.
right. If it was truly satisfying, it would have the characteristic of, I'm satisfied. But I used to think that what I learned was the truth. And so I was constantly a nice person trying to make myself happy in like the Course says, in inappropriate ways. I like that's where he puts it, in inappropriate ways. You know.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, he talks about, we believe that satisfaction comes up with coming up with fantasies and imagined needs that we think we have to have in order to be happy. Okay, and an example of that would be anything you think of practically other than God. Okay, which you could be, unless I have a certain kind of car, I'm not happy. Unless I have a house of a certain type. You see what I'm saying? All the stuff that we judge, if I'm not a certain weight, if I don't look, if I live, you know, it's anything I tell myself that my survival depends on at this level that has nothing to do with my survival. I'll never starve because I don't have an iPod.
So can
But
we
I
ever
could
be
make
satisfied on this plane of existence?
Right. It's impossible to ever be satisfied with anything here unless the purpose of it is about awakening, love, everybody benefit, everybody join, some level of happiness. It has nothing to do with our personal fantasies. You know, nothing. It doesn't. But then that's not a moral judgment. That's not saying that's bad to have a fantasy.
I was going to say you can have those though, can't you? You can have goals and wants, desires.
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Okay. If you truly knew that it wasn't in and of itself what was going to make you happy, and you knew that, would you even have that fantasy?
No.
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 You
I,
would go.
or I might, but I would.
You
watch it
would,
away.
yeah, you would probably go for the thing that you knew would be satisfying.
Yes.
That's what I would do.
Yes.
So the mere fact that a part of me still defends having the other stuff still lets me know that a part of me still believes that it's my fantasies that satisfy me. That's
Right.
why I'm still trying to sneak in. Well, but you know, if I really did really want to go to the, you know, if I want to go to Disney World, that's okay. Yeah, it is. But you could ask for better than Disney World. You know, there's something better than Disney World. And then I could go to Disney World and enjoy it. But I would never be fooled by Disney World. I would never go to Disney World thinking that Disney World meant anything. Other
Okay,
than,
that's
what I'm saying.
that's
I
what
would go
I'm
to
saying.
Disney
because,
World.
I mean, I just went on a trip
Yeah.
that was incredibly satisfying with a very holy, spiritual man.
Right.
That was very satisfying.
Right.
But I'm not coming back going, my life's saved. or
And
anything like that.
would you be willing to entertain the idea that it satisfied you because you gave it that meaning and you gave it that interpretation? That the satisfaction is really coming from the way you saw the trip.
The way I saw the trip was very loving.
That's what I'm saying.
It was
Right.
like we have holy relationships. This was a holy trip.
Right.
I mean, it really was.
Because you saw it that way.
That's the way I viewed it. That's the way I took it in.
Okay, that's my
That's the
point.
way-
That's my
okay.
point. Is that the event was neutral, and you gave it all the meaning that it had for you.
I gotcha.
That's the secret to happiness. The secret to happiness is finally one day getting that I'm the one that's giving it all the meaning that it has to me. That's what I want to remember. That everything in the world is
Comes up
neutral.
over and over again.
Yeah, I need to hear that over and over again because the world's not going to remind me of that.
Okay.
That's the purpose of the group.
Cool.
See, the purpose of the group is for us to say stuff like that to each other. I'm glad that was a holy trip. I'm not denying it at all.
Right.
But empowerment would be you remembering that you're the one that made it holy. That you're the one that is seeing it like it was a really cool, beneficial thing. Why? Because if you can do that in one situation, Raj, you can do that in other situations. That's the beauty of it. If you can make one trip meaningful and cool, you could make all your trips meaningful and
That's
cool.
incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
And very refreshing to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've said it before, but not quite that way. That I've heard it that way. That's really powerful.
Right. And it's as you are willing to accept it, it is understood. You know, the Course says to accept is to understand. That when you understand something, you're just saying, I accept that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
When we went to school and they was teaching us math, they said 2 and 2 is 4. And you went,
Just accept.
okay. And anything that you say is not 4 is what? An incorrect answer. Right. So when you say you understood 2 and 2 was 4, it just meant you accepted that 2 and 2 was 4. And you were not trying to make 2 and 2 5. And you're not trying to make 2 and 2 3. So the Course is saying to us, that's true about everything. That I'm telling you, Earl, that if you were to say to devote yourself is your vow to accomplish, then you say you understand that sentence. And if you would say to be devoted is to be prayerful, then you would say you understood that sentence. You see, as soon as I accept it, then I understand the sentence. If I don't accept it, I say I don't understand the sentence. So that's why when people study these books in the Course, I tell them, when you're reading a paragraph in the Course and you keep reading it over and over again because you say you don't understand it, it's not that you don't understand it, because anybody can understand it. The truth is you're not ready to accept what it says yet. It said you are not a body. And so you go, I don't understand that. Oh, yes you do. You understand the statement, you are not a body. You're not ready to accept that you are not a body. So then it goes, well, explain that to me. When it's really a matter of me accepting I'm more than, let's say I'm more than this. And all of us are intelligent enough to know what I'm more than this means. You see what I'm saying? But we go, I don't understand. No, you don't accept. You totally identify with your body. So if somebody says you're not it, of course it's baffling, because he says the body is the ego's home. That it's the ego that lives in the body. So that really pegged me when I read that. I went, oh Lord, have mercy. It means it's the ego that's looking. He said the ego is what's looking out through the eyes of the body, because it's the part of you that sees everybody as separate from you. He says that is the ego. So all of a sudden I realize that I'm looking through my ego right now. I'm looking at the part of me that thinks I'm separate from you right now. It's knowledge, which says we are one even though we look like we're separate, that keeps me conscious. You follow that? Your perception is only going to witness to the illusion. Your perception is only going to witness. My perception says there's a Bonnie, and there's a Jeff, and there's a Laurel. My knowledge, which is beyond perception, says we are one. So that's why it says knowledge and perception are not the same thing. Knowledge is knowing and a certainty. Perception is categorizing, figuring out, judging, and comparing. So I don't look to see the truth through my physical eyes. I know some people like kind of think when they're just going to be walking around and all of a sudden they see oneness. They know oneness. You're gonna know oneness. You can't see it because it looks like we're separate. So the Course says, well, how do you see oneness at this level of consciousness? I said, that's a great question. He says, well, the closest you can get to oneness at this level of perception is to all have the same purpose. You become one in purpose. You have a common state of mind. That's the closest you can get to one. Because all of our bodies are not going to be joined. You know, Lord knows I tried.
Me too.
So I couldn't keep up.
There are enough hours in a day.
I couldn't keep. I didn't have enough hours a day to be one with everybody physically.
Can you elaborate on that?
You know, like what you've been trying to do.
But you can try,
But you can try, and if there's no such thing as guilt, you can have a good time too.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just make sure you do it with somebody that wants to.
That's right.
I found that that's the secret of accomplishment. It's a radical concept.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Earl, so sometimes like I get this awareness that you're not Earl, that you're just a manifestation of me. So then I'm in knowledge then.
Right, because you don't see. It's not something you physically see. It's something that you're knowing, something that you're accepting is true that you don't perceive, and it's true. I am another manifestation of the one self. That's you. But see how much fun could we have if we knew that while looking like we were separate?
Yeah.
See, the people I always had the most fun with, and the most innocent fun with, are always people who feel like they're two things. They feel like we're one with each other, and they're not about the idea of guilt and sin. You cannot have fun with people who believe in guilt and sin.
Oh my.
They are real party poopers. You can't, because everything that they do that's pleasurable, they have to punish themselves afterwards in order to be okay for what they think they've done. So the Course says people who believe in sin and guilt always do pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain. That's the combination of, let's say I had something to drink and it looked like I felt really good and I was partying, and then the pain becomes the hangover that I have the next day to punish me for that. Okay, or if I have really, really pleasure about it and I feel guilt about it, then I'll create what I call some kind of addiction to it. I liked it so much, I'm constantly gonna punish myself for doing it. Okay, to the point that I need to change my mind about needing to punish myself. And how can I tell when I've changed my mind about needing to punish myself? What I do a symbolic gesture. What would be the symbolic gesture? Well, one symbolic gesture would be like going to a group that helps you get beyond that. That don't mean you're guilty. That's just your symbolic gesture that says you're ready to let go of the guilt. You know, which is really cool. So then, if you're having a good time and while you're unlearning, right, then you're actually doing what it's saying. You're engaged in life while you're at the time of tenderness. You're being gentle with yourself, but you're still engaged in life.
So your perception, the more you put this into practice, you start noticing your perception changes.
Absolutely.
That sometimes you still jump into that, you son of a bitch, whatever.
Right.
But a lot of times you can go, well, wait a minute, I'm not seeing that.
Right. That's what's going to happen. It's not that you're not going to go, you son of a bitch. There's two things going to happen. You're going to say he's a son of a bitch, and then you're going to realize it doesn't mean anything, and that you're still innocent, and that you're giving him a son of a bitch all the meaning that it has for you, that you're the one made him.
And then you laugh and you go on.
And then you laugh and you go on.
Because it's funny.
Because it's funny.
Yeah.
But when you feel guilty, you go, I'm a son of a bitch, now I got to go forgive myself for the next 3 weeks because I called him that. But when you wake up, you just laugh at it. You know, maybe he was a son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You know, it don't matter. You don't really know what he was. You don't really know. The key is, will I beat myself up because I gave that meaning to it?
Oh my God.
Will I finally get that I'm just the one that's giving it the meaning? Will I get that he doesn't even feel like, he don't even feel it? You know, when I when I think about how many times I felt sad and was beating myself up and not letting myself have joy because I was upset with somebody else who didn't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me. Like
Isn't
somebody who won't let themselves have relationships or a really fun social life because they still upset about the last person that they had and they're thinking about them. And so they won't let themselves have any more joy because they haven't forgiven what the other person did, who don't even know it, even feel it, who might be having a good time right now. That's crazy.
So
You go ahead.
It was kind of along the lines of what you were saying. I really liked the sentence that said, when the personal self gets out of the way in any instance, it is the turning point. Because I know for me, I get out of the way and then I get back in the way. Then I get out of the way and then I get back in the way. So I like the idea that in any instance, it's like I get a lot of chances for a turning point.
In any instant can be the holy instant.
Yeah.
This one too, right? Right. That's what I always remember. And like the Great Master says, and this instant, and this instant, and this instant, and this instant, and you can do this, and you can do it this, and you can do it.
Yes. Thank you, Father.
What were you getting ready to ask, bro?
so then,
So then,
the fact that I like to watch shows like The World According to Paris, Chloe and Lamar, The World, the Kardashians, South Park, and I'm all worried because I'm like, oh, I can't let them know because, oh man, they're gonna be like, you're not holy. I'm the only one that's putting that.
Right, because nobody else even knows about it. The Course says that how you know you're in your ego is you have the idea of a personal world. The fact that you think you can experience something that nobody else is experiencing is your way of knowing that you're in your ego, because anything that's real is shared with everybody. So the fact that we all have our personal lives is our clue that we're living in the bubble of our own perception, and it's just something we're making up, and nobody. Like for instance, if we were all sitting in here and nobody knew it, and somebody said somebody here is the president of their own company, and we had just met, then we wouldn't know who that was necessarily, right? Because it's a concept, it's not real. So somebody would have to tell me they're the president. That's what I'm saying. Anything you got to explain to somebody, the Course says that's how you know it's not real. I went, what? Yeah, the mere fact that I got to tell you who I am means that we're not sharing anything real. It means it's all made up. So I'm feeling guilty about made up stuff. And the biggest made up stuff is in the area of, like I said, special relationships and sexuality. Those are where we have the biggest learnings that we make ourselves feel guilty about. Yeah. So if you feel guilty about something, try not to do it. Not because it's bad, but because you're going to punish yourself for doing it. You're going to punish yourself. You're going to punish yourself better than anybody in the room will, because nobody in the room will even know you did it. You know. So nobody can get you better than your own ego because you trained it. You train your own ego to know what hurts you the most. You know, I'm the only one who knows my real phobias. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the only one who can make myself really feel guilty about a lot of stuff. Nobody can do it better than me. There's not a person in this room. First of all, we're too self-absorbed.
Yeah.
I'm too busy dealing with my own stuff to be worried about what you watched on TV last night. I guarantee you now, a person in this room was thinking about what you watched on TV. Well, I have to admit, the Kardashian girl does have the butt of the god. She really does. But then I give her butt all the meaning it has for me.
Yeah, there you go.
I give it all the meaning.
Would you elaborate on the butt love theme? I mean, that's one that fascinates me.
Yeah, the butt love theme is just nothing but kind of like. As a matter of fact, I think I'll write a book about it called the Butt Love Theme. But even the Course talks about it. It says, God is butt love. And therefore, so am I. So I feel totally innocent about that. It's right there in the Course.
Bathroom stall.
That's what I'm saying. God is butt love.
I think we should all come in and moon him sometime.
That's right. By all
Look
means.
out, because this
Only if you would be willing to be seen as innocent.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you can deal with no judgment of your butt, then by all means. I mean, we just can't go to the next level of consciousness and keep this guilt stuff going.
Right,
We
right,
will never be
right.
happy
Oh,
learners
right.
if we're beating ourselves up every
Yeah.
step of the way about how good we doing it and if we're doing it good enough, and the fact that I got upset today and I got depressed and I want to kill myself. He says your doubts are going to come and go to come again. It's right there in the book. Your doubts are going to come and go to come again. He's told us it's going to be that way. So you're going to have days that you just doubt.
You brought it up, so I have to add this.
Mhm.
I'm on the back of the motorcycle a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Having a great time, beautiful day out, sun shining, and I get a friggin' migraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, been through this a lot,
Okay.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So sickness is a defense against the truth.
Sickness is a defense against
So
the truth.
I said, okay, so I'm feeling like sort of sick right now.
Mhm.
You know, I
Mhm.
really don't want to take another one of those friggin' pills.
Mhm.
You know, and so I said, okay, it's a defense against the truth. So what is true? And into my head pops, God is but love, and then goes on
Yeah.
to the but love.
Took your mind right off the headache.
Took your mind right off your head.
And then it was interesting too. Then I said, okay, and what else is true? And with the other thing that came to my mind was that right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
all is well.
Mhm.
I am okay right here, right
Mhm.
now. Yeah, I got this weird vision thing going on,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
right here, right now,
Mm.
I am okay.
Mhm.
And that was the first headache that I've not, grabbed for my medication.
Mhm.
Oh God, because if I don't get it stopped, it's going to blow into something big.
Mhm.
Because in the past, a lot of times it has.
Mhm.
And that's so freeing. So that's what, coming to this group does for me. These
Mhm.
things, when things happen over and over again,
Mhm.
and then I can stop and say, okay, wait a minute now. This has happened a lot, but how can it be different this time?
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's funny because, the butt love thing. Yeah, if you wouldn't have elaborated on that, many lessons ago,
Well,
that wouldn't have popped in my head.
I love
you know?
to joke about the things that people have the biggest triggers about, which makes it sound to people like I'm obsessed with it. But I just loved to watch people react to see themselves as spiritual giants and can't even say but or can't say sex. So anything, but they think they're so spiritual that they can't hear words. It's like they don't see that that's really kind of weird. That you're this very conscious being, but words freak you out. Which means you're not yet. It means you're still giving it guilty meaning. And so another thing that came to me when you were saying that, think about that. You had a migraine headache, right? And that migraine headache, instead of making you forget the truth in God, that migraine headache made you think about every truth thing you could
Right.
think of. Okay? That's
Right.
exactly the opposite
Yeah.
of the purpose of your ego in creating the migraine.
Right.
That's not what you're supposed to do with a migraine.
Right,
The migraine
right.
is supposed to
It's
make you
supposed to
say,
take you right
yeah,
to
it's supposed to take you right out. This truth isn't true.
Yeah.
I've been studying this crap and it never works.
Yeah.
And I see, but you did. So the Course says whenever you use the thing that your ego is trying to use to make you forget the truth, to remember the truth, he says you're undermining the ego's whole thought system. And eventually it'll stop using it because it's making you love yourself
Yeah.
instead of making you feel upset with yourself.
And then at some point, we just stop playing the friggin' game,
There
and
you go.
it's done.
It's done.
You don't have to go through the, oh God, I'm having a migraine. Oh yeah, I'm having,
And you didn't
there's
judge
no
yourself
more.
for it. I didn't hear you didn't make yourself a spiritual failure because you had a migraine. You just
Yeah.
wanted another way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's practical application. See, that's how you know you're practicing the truth. You didn't go, your first thought was not what outside of myself needs to be changed for me not to have this. You went straight to some truth thought.
Yeah.
Right. That's applying the truth.
Yeah.
That's applying. Then if you had to go and get whatever medication you needed, that would just been symbolic willingness. See, the other thing is
Yeah.
if it hadn't let up, and you had decided later on that you wanted to do a symbolic willingness in the form of some
Right.
form of medication, you're
Right.
still supposed to feel innocent about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's try the next paragraph and see. That was juicy. We worked the heck out of that one, didn't
Yeah,
we?
we did. Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Devotion is the outcome of love, and in this instance, is an action word,
All
a
right,
verb,
a verb.
a means of serving and being served by love. Devotion is a particular type of participation. Devotion cannot be faked,
Woo.
but devotion can be practiced. You, dear children, have faked your way through much of life. I like to admit, I, Earl Purdy,
You faked it.
have faked my way through much of life. Would anybody else care to do that?
I'm a faker.
Oh.
So could we admit that there's a part of us that's a class full of fakes? Yay! Okay. All right. Okay. That means you have faked confidence when you really are uncertain. You're pretending like you got confidence a lot of times when you know you're full of doubt.
Oh, hell yeah.
He says you have faked interest when you feel indifference.
Oh, man.
You have faked.
What'd you say?
You're about the cutest. You one of the cutest little fakes I've ever seen. No, I tell you that. That's what you do, like on a Valentine's card. You say something to the other person like, "You're my favorite fake. You're my absolute favorite fake of all the fakes I know."
Keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep up the good work. You know. Has anybody heard about this case at Anthony trial? Okay. That's been one of the most entertaining things that I've watched as far as using for truth, because it's like the epitome of specialness.
Yeah.
It's like children go through transition and are lost and are hurt
Yeah.
and are murdered every day all over this country.
Right.
Yeah.
What made this case
Yes.
different? So much so that
Right.
it's on the network news every night.
Right.
Who can guess?
It's the OJ thing all
Same
over.
thing with OJ. There have been, with OJ, you had the extra thing of the racial element, which people like to be in denial
Yeah.
about, because there's nothing we like to do more than deny that we have any racism.
And he was a star.
Yeah,
Well
and he was a
known
star.
name.
He was special to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
He was-
Right.
yeah.
Right.
But there
So-
always seems to be a drama, murder
They looking
Right.
for an angle.
thing going on.
Right. Right.
People are
It's
drawn
just-
to the drama.
Right.
That's what they want.
But there's always an angle that the news goes
And
for.
doesn't
that
that
is
allow
gonna make it
everybody to,
special.
and can't they temporarily forget about their own little miserable lives?
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
And we can judge even
And we
more
can,
so.
and we get a chance to judge
By
her.
judging.
Right.
You
I
know,
wouldn't do that.
You know,
I wouldn't
and
do
the
that.
course would
Yeah,
say,
child.
and the conscious being would say, "I don't know."
Yeah.
A conscious being would go, "I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what she did.
Yeah.
I don't know what she did." Does anybody in here know?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Does any of the people with their opinion, do they really know? So a conscious being is always doing, "I don't know, I 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 don't know." An unconscious being is always going, "I know. I know what she did." You don't know anything unless you really recognize you heard. And I'm not defending her one way or another, because I don't really believe ultimately that they're victims, and I believe that they're victims.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I don't believe they're victims, and I believe they're victims. I love everybody, and I hate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in lack, and I believe in abundance. I believe in specialness, and I believe in freedom. I believe in health, and I believe in sickness. I believe I'm separate, and I believe I'm joined. That feels so good. No conflict in that. You know why? That's the truth.
It is.
Anything else I would say wouldn't be the truth.
Right.
And I would feel conflict. I have both thoughts, so I have both things in my perception. I have loving people and fearful people, rich people, poor people, sick people, healthy people. That's my duality of thinking.
Wow.
Huh?
I can hold on to that.
Yeah, yeah,
It works for me.
yeah. Yeah, you can feel that. You can always tell when you tell yourself the truth because you feel lighter. You go, I like some people, I don't like some people. Some people I'm attracted to, some people I'm not. Sometimes I love myself, sometimes I don't. I'm always cute and juicy though.
Yeah.
That's why I have non-duality. I got a t-shirt somebody sent me with cute and juicy on it. That's what so thank you for recognizing me.
Yeah, wow.
So again, there's a part of us that's fake. Okay. I love this. You fake knowledge of things about which you know nothing.
Yeah.
Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
But those who have tried to fake love cannot do it. You can't fake love. The same is true of devotion. You can't fake devotion because there is no real devotion without love. If I don't love you, I can't be devoted to you. It's the same as saying if I can't free you, I can't be devoted to you. Because love is freedom. If I don't see you as innocent, I can't be devoted to you. So I've had, even though it says it's hard to do it, I've had fake devotion. I've claimed I've been devoted to people that I limited in my judgments. As a matter of fact, the people I thought I was most devoted to were the ones I judged the harshest. Those are the ones I got under the microscope the most. So I love how this book helps me stop faking and fooling myself. It's so much pressure off me now not pretending that I'm more loving than I am. It just takes so much pressure off. Being nice is very stressful. Trying to be nice all the time is very stressful. Trying to fake niceness is very stressful because I learned that if you were nice, then things would go better for you. And I know so many nice people that's gotten slammed. So being nice doesn't get it. Being aware does. Okay, thank you for listening to this much, y'all. It's Tim Till. So let's give it up to us loving, juicy, cute people who fake sometimes. So don't tell me that y'all can't fake it. Because we all have faked it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So, okay, we're getting ready to, we got a little bit of time to go. Let's go ahead and recap what we heard today. Okay, so what would happen if you were getting your personal self out of the way? You would be living from love. Okay, so when I get my personal self out of the way, then I can love you guys. Okay. What is the turning point from a course of love perspective? When you get your personal self out of the way, that's going to be the turning point. What would be a more practical way to put that? When I put the old learning out of the way, that is putting my personal self. I put my old ideas of myself out of the way. Now I'm at the turning point.
Would the first part of that be then would be recognition that then that you are acting out of old learning.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
And just like so much therapy is, it's like recognition is the first stage of growth. It's the first stage of breaking into new territory, into loving territory, into happier territory. It's recognizing what the hell you're doing. What am I doing?
I remember reading the course and getting to the back of the book, and it was like, and it got to this thing, it was like chapter 30, in the 29, it says, the Holy Spirit's going to give you one message. You're doing it to yourself. 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 So how can I tell what God's voice is saying to me? What God's voice is telling me I'm doing it to myself. How can you tell when it's not just God's voice? You're going to say somebody else is doing it to you. Okay, I'm going to say it's the economy. I'm going to say it's my lack of education. I'm not cute enough. The voice for God is always going to say, you're doing it to yourself. And then it's going to come right behind it and say, but you haven't done anything. That's the beauty. I love how the truth kind of drags you through the mud, and then it washes you off at the end. You know, oh yeah, you got an ego. You don't really love anybody like you think you do. You blame other people. You think you're about it. You've forgotten God. You get angry. You project. You try to control other people, and you're totally innocent, and you haven't done anything at all. You just think you did. They created it just as much as you did, and everybody is for your own best interest, and you're going to learn a lesson of that. You know, it's like wow. By dragging through the mud, I mean you become honest with yourself about what you're doing to yourself. That's he says, you know, you got to bring hate up. He says you can't hide it. You got to bring it up if you want to release it. So when you're in a conscious relationship, you would sit down in front of the person if you were feeling this way and say, you know what? I hate you. I'm feeling a lot of hate right now. And I don't want to keep the hate, so I'm going to let you know that that's what I'm feeling right now, and I really want to feel another way. And the reason why I hate you is because you're not doing something that I want you to do that makes me feel better about myself than I can feel on my own. And so your job as my friend or my special partner is to help hide from me how I really feel about myself. So I'm supposed to get a good feeling about myself because of you. And you're not acting out that need that I have for you to help me see myself as a cool person, because I don't see myself as a cool person. So I hate you. You're not carrying out you're not fulfilling my imagined need. Now what I'm saying is straight out of the Course in Miracles in the section called The Illusion and Reality of Love. I'm not making this up at all. You know, and so if you're in a conscious being, what would you do if you were really not going to, you wanted to be at the turning point and you didn't want to use your own personal learning? You would say what that said. You would look at each other in the eye and you would say just that. And that's not a very loving thing for me to do to you. So I want to see it another way.
Yeah.
But let's say I didn't say that, and I repressed that, then I'm going to attack them, I'm going to try to make them feel guilty, and I'm going to hold them responsible for what I'm going through. That's how you can tell. The Course says you don't even go looking for a special relationship until you hate yourself first. You know, it's like he said the reason why we look without is because of the fear and hatred within. So we don't want to look within because we don't think the love is really there. So since it's not, I'm going out here trying to get it. So you don't even go on the prowl until you already think it's missing inside of you. So you can be rest assured that anybody who walks up to you that's hitting on you, they hate themselves. Okay? And that's why later on, well, the course is not very romantic.
No, it isn't.
But it's totally pro-love.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the Course says, now I'm not saying you can't have special relationships. It's saying, I want you to give them another purpose other than filling up this hole inside of you. You know what I'm saying? That you think is there. Now, if you go to them and you go, the purpose of this relationship is for me to learn a lesson in love, and what love is, and what joy is, and what connection is, and what freedom is, now that's a good reason to join with somebody. But if I feel like I'm not good enough and I'm pitiful, how do I know if I think I'm that way? I can't friggin' be alone. I can't stay in my own company. I gotta have somebody around me all the time. If not, I might hear what I'm thinking. You see what I mean? So you know when you love yourself because you're not trying to get anymore, you're trying to extend. You just showing up, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you invite us over after class. It's not because you need to get anything, or if somebody didn't come over, you feel incomplete. It's coming out of your sense of completion and abundance and your desire to extend. That's different. You know, that way. Therefore, if a person comes and they don't feel bad. But you can tell special relationships because if you don't do it, you feel guilty. If you don't do it, you feel like, you know, somebody's not going to like you anymore. You know, you didn't come to my party, I don't like you anymore. That's a special relationship. A holy relationship is, I'm inviting you to my party tonight, it'd be wonderful if you can come, but if you can't, that's okay. And I want you to have fun whatever you're doing. You can always tell who loves themselves. You get, after a while you learn, you know, oh, okay, that's the person I want to hang out with. That's the person I want to hang out with. Because if it doesn't happen, they're not gonna be tripping on me. The insecure person is, why don't you like me? What's wrong with me? How come you don't come? I always invite you and you don't ever come over. What's wrong? You was wrong. What do you mean? You believe in maintaining relationships through making someone feel guilty if they don't do what you want them to do. No, thank you. I make myself feel guilty enough without any help from anybody else. I don't need anybody else to load some on me. So, devotion is the vow to accomplish, right? So what makes a prayer powerful? All right, so that's what would it take for all of us to feel complete fulfillment in ways beyond our wildest dreams through the Holy Spirit. That's living in the question. That's giving the universe the permission to bring us what we want. Okay, what would it take for you to see your body different, and so that you would not feel pain, you know, in ways beyond your wildest imaginations, you know? Okay, we did devotion tonight, right? Because he says it's a type of participation, and there was a lot of participation tonight, so we were more devoted than usual, or as usual. Right? So that's different. You know, how am I devoted to? How do I know I'm devoted to you? We engage in a type of participation that helps us achieve our objective. We're engaged in a type of participation that helps. What's my objective? Peace, love, truth, opening my heart. I can't fake devotion though, right? So, are we willing to admit that we faked our way through much of our lives?
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you know you feel more innocent about yourself? You can say that and don't feel like it's a big deal. The person who can't say that is the person who's still faking. Like somebody say, well, that's just too negative. I'm not ever faking anything. Okay, okay, you still faking. Right, but why? Because you can't admit you're fake. That's the best definition of somebody still faking that I could possibly know. They won't admit they're faking. All right, so I would be more willing to tell somebody that's interested in me that, okay, you know, that's cool, but I have fake love. What does that mean? My love isn't consistent. It changes. It has some fear in it sometimes, and some scripts in it sometimes, and some demands in it sometimes. So if you're ready for a good dose of fake love, I mean, you know, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and what happens when you know you're in a relationship with somebody who's doing fake love? You forgive them easier because you didn't have unrealistic expectations in the first place. So just assume if somebody looks at you as if you're separate from them, that they don't know what love is. So don't expect consistency of anyone who thinks they're separate from you. Okay? Then you won't get hurt. If you really think Earl is separate from you, and I think you're really separate from me, I know that our love is going to have some inconsistency because I don't know you or me. So I won't expect you to always be consistent. And so we'll have a good relationship. And when we get upset with each other, we'll go, I got upset, it's no big deal, let's move on now. Easy. See, didn't that feel right to the body?
Yeah.
Oh. That's how you can tell. Heavy light. Heavy light. It's a heavy light. Right? So thank you for being my saviors. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So your assignment is to have as much fun as you can for the next time I see you.
Wait.
Oh, good.
Yeah.